Good evening, part two. We're back, and apologies for the break there. We had a slight issue with some game glitches and a little bit of drama at the start, which we've just had to sort out quickly. So, as we were back in Miami, the Hard Rock Stadium, the Miami Dolphins are not the host of this event. It's Formula One in Miami, brackets MRC. We had a very fun qualifying session with numerous drivers not setting laps, meaning we had a very mixed up grid, which can only mean one thing: chaos, excitement, overtakes, and of course, fun action throughout the field. We are going to go straight into the race. Of course, the qualifying grid is set on the Prix video. Please check that out if you wish to see who, how, and what happened in that qualifying session. And of course, we are not running a formation lap due to issues going on with the servers. So straight into the session. Let's go. In a moment, because obviously Codemasters is very slow. Apologies, everyone. Anyway, I'm rejoined as we were by Rob, AKG and Genie, the splendid man that he is. Hello again, Rob.
Hi there. Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to this start. Fingers crossed, we can see a nice clean start. I want everybody to get through turn one, lap one with their front nose intact, because I think it's going to be a really interesting race. Like you said, we've got a really mixed up grid, lots of potential for a couple of strategy mix up. I want to talk strategy at some point, because I had one I was going to bring out tier 2 on Monday. Didn't get a chance to show it off. But
were you going to go for a 2-stop with 2 sets of softs?
Maybe. Ooh. Well, let's do the start.
Indeed. So, Go and Simba with a good start. Confetti Craig good start, but Connor with a rapid getaway off the line. Simba's at the inside of turn 1. Connor goes around the side of Kaiser Soze. Oh, nearly hits the back of Confetti Craig. Simba's through to P1. Connor at the inside of Confetti Craig into turn 2. Kaiser Soze's now past Confetti Craig. Simba is now under big pressure from Connor. Meanwhile, further back down the order, Jensky's dropped to the back. Unfortunate for him, Jordan Byrne has also dropped positions. Mark H has made a huge start up to P10. Ooh, we've got a yellow flag. Have we got a safety car already? Ooh, we've got a virtual. It looks like a virtual because obviously the game doesn't tell us if there's a safety car. We have to work it out for ourselves, as you do. So Simba leads, Connor P2, Kaiser Soze P3, Confetti Craig P4, Night Shadow P5. Good start from him. B7 P6, 7th Kellogg's, 8th Fat Meso, 9th Baby Hornet. He's not had a good start. Shame for him. Mark Hodgson P10. Purple Sector 11th, Rob Smith 12th, Jacob Fire Rooster Hornet Hot Guy in 13th, RS 10 14th, Sambal 15th, dripping everything by Calvin now, Jordan Byrne and Ryan Redcar 17th and 18th, Bergen 19th and 20th for Jensky, but we're back underway, back to speed. Right, so Alpha's in close formation here. Are they going to work together? Hodgie being the tier above could allow Baby Hornet to get dragged along and cause some damage ahead, but Hornet did have good pace in qualifying. Meanwhile, behind them, Purple Sector and Rob Smith are fighting down the back straight, heading in towards that tight hairpin at the end of the lap. We've also got Jacob Fire Rooster right on their chuff too. Rob Smith in to P11 before the braking zone. Jacob, the inside of both of them, just makes the corner. Big lockup, but just... Oh, he's in the wall!
No, he's
he's out of the session. Oh, Jacob, an ambitious move. Did not quite work. He is out of this race. So Rob Smith and Purple Sector live to fight another day. Although RS10 at the inside of both of them, very deep in turn 1, doesn't make the corner. The latter can see that position, comes back on track, and he's had a collision with Purple Sector. Rob Smith has to take avoiding action, and that has allowed for Redcar Rambo to come at them both with his Senna helmet, of course, in the Ferrari. Redcar in the red car. That's what we like to see. Ryan going for a move, and yeah, Rob Smith unfortunately there, going very wide, and was that Bat Mazo just all going around? It was Bat Mazo, unfortunately.
Yeah,
we've also got Jensky's in the pits as well, back to the front, and we've got Simba just starting to pull away slightly from Connor. Just have a little gap. So, interval gaps pop on the screen. Of course, Jacob leaving the session, Bat Mazo and him both out of the race, unfortunately, at this early stage. We have a full safety car. So we didn't quite get 2 full laps in, but we have a safety car. So, tyres on the board, most drivers are on the hards. The exceptions are Jensky, who's just pitted for mediums, Rob Smith, Kelvin, Baby Hornet, and Kellogg's. So not a lot of drivers are on the mediums, everyone else on the hards. Nobody is on the softs. And the softs don't last here. I don't know about you, Rob, but I found the softs very good for a 1-lap qualifying experience, but nothing more.
I'd agree with you there. My secret strategy was on Monday I was going to start on the softs, hard, medium, and I'll tell you why.
That's a great call.
Hards on this circuit are horrible. I tried it in practice on 29 laps worth of fuel. The car felt like an absolute boat. Couldn't turn it, couldn't get it into any corners, spinning around everywhere. So the softs just gave me that confidence at the start. And my bet was that within the first 5 laps we'd have a safety car, which isn't
a pretty safe bet.
Yeah, pretty safe bet, and you can get your free pit stop on. You can get a good start, make up some positions. Maybe you'll have to pit, but at least, or maybe you can get on the hards, take the hards long, and maybe get another set of softs on at the end. That was my plan, because the difference between the hards and the softs on here, one feels like you're on ice, the other when you're on the softs. When you get it together on those quali laps, that's when I enjoyed this circuit the most. That's where I felt like I had the most control. So, yeah, don't be. I'd say, like you say, they burn off really quickly, but don't be afraid to put on the softs if the opportunity arises. You can really steal a march on other people, because those hards, 15-lap-old hards, is absolutely horrid around here.
Indeed. It's interesting you mentioned the boat, the feeling of the car, because obviously we've got the fake marina and harbour in the middle of the track here as one of the many picturesque views. It's a bit of a weird one, because obviously we've got the Hard Rock Stadium, home of the Miami Dolphins, which is a NFHLB MLS team. Is it soccer? Is it football? Is it American football? Is it baseball? Is it basketball? Is it hockey? I don't even know. I think it's NFL. I'm only taking a mick, of course. But interestingly, we call this Miami, and it's just off the freeway, which you just see in the back of shot there. I'll just remove all the graphics just so we can see some of the scenery, because it's a bit of a weird one. But this actually, we call it Miami. This is not in Miami. This is 25 kilometres, which is about 17 or 18 miles out of Miami. Well, actually 16 miles out of Miami. Of course, Miami's close to the coast. It's very much by the coast, and obviously hence the marina and the harbours that have been recreated here, and the palm trees and such that are just dotted around. But this is not Miami. This is very much outside of the city. But don't tell everyone that, because, that'll make purists not happy. Speaking of American cities and American racetracks, there's been many a racetrack in America over the years. Miami is not the first instalment of tracks in Formula One. We've had quite a few varieties in the past, including Sebring, once upon a time for a very small number of years, and Phoenix. Long Beach was an iconic one which still gets used in IndyCar. We've had the Circuit of the Americas, Watkins Glen, the Caesars Palace car park track, which I'm going to come back to shortly, and of course Indianapolis. But look at that view there. You've got the fake marina, the stadium in the background. It was quite an interesting shot. Shame it's all fake and make believe. That's about as real as a Roald Dahl book. But anyway, obviously this is just a glorified car park and a few access roads. It's a temporary circuit, and weirdly enough, obviously we're going to Vegas next year, which is again another temporary circuit on the roads and car parks. The last time we had a situation like this was also in Las Vegas back in 1984, when we raced in the Caesars Palace Casino car park. And that's exactly what this reminds me of. We're in the car park and surrounding areas of the Miami Hard Rock Dolphins batting arena, whatever you want to call it. I don't even know what to call it. And this is just a glorified car park and service roads that have just been dotted around, which frankly I think is a waste of facilities and a silly idea, but here we are. Thank you very much, Liberty Media. I'm going to say no more before I get in trouble, of course, with F1 Limited. So yeah, it's weird. Of course, we've had such iconic tracks. Laguna Seca, in my opinion, is the best track in America, and yet we race here.
I would pay so much money to see F1 cars go through the corkscrew. That would be, just an incredible sight to see at Laguna Seca.
I admit, the corkscrew being so complex and difficult, it's hard to see an F1 car realistically with the length, width and size of them making it through there safely, but
they do it in
great
Indy.
To see.
It's very fun, yeah.
They do.
Anyway,
we're back to racing. Simba has back to pack up, coming through that final hairpin. Will he go early? Yes, he's gone early, of course. It's difficult not to there. There's nowhere else you can really go. So, Connor has read the book and wrote the chapter, because he's right with Simba. Simba's gone very deep on the brakes. Connor went early on the brakes, so neither of them gained on each other. Meanwhile, Night Shadow did gain on Kita Soze. AlphaTauri's having a respectable start to race in P1 and 4. Following the restart, Baby Hornet back up to P7, by the way, all over the back of Kellogg's. Crunchy Nut, Snap, Crackle and Pop doing a good job in the Williams P6. So Baby Hornet, despite that penalty in qualifying, despite what would have been a fantastic pole, he's looking racy, hungry and keen to get going. Does have to watch out because a zookeeper is right with him. Calvin is ready to pounce. The leopard, hyena, laughing tiger, whatever you want to call him, and all of his other zoo creations are right with him in the Alpine. We have got B17 side by side with Kellogg's. B17 holds position, he's all over the back of Gavin, and Kellogg's is looking hungry, but that little twitch there from Kellogg's has allowed for Baby Hornet to get side by side with him as they come through this tight section. The camera angles are not lending us much to look at here, but Kellogg's has lost position, unfortunately for him. He's now got Calvin and Hodgie all over the back of him. We mentioned earlier, Hodgie got his first MRC podium 1 year ago today. Despite a potential penalty for being a higher tier driver, could he get himself at least on track to finish on the podium again? He is lining up Calvin. A bit too far back for the hairpin here, but you know, you never know. Both make the corner nice and neatly. A shot further down the field, have a little flick through. You've got Bergen and Red Car Rambo, P12 and 11 respectively, just hunting down the points. Kaiser Soze's pitting, I think he's got damage. Jordan Byrne very deep into the hairpin there, and he's struggling with any car problems. Doesn't look to be. Jensky and Confetti Craig fighting on 14th, 15th. Closely followed by Rob Smith. You've got Sambal now pitting. Purple Sector, a bit wide on the exit there in the final corner, but we move on. Now then, back to the front with Simba and Connor very close at the front. These two are the two championship protagonists, to use the big words of Crofty. Oh dear, what is going to happen with these two? I know we predicted the first part of the stream that we thought Baby Hornet would win this race. He's currently P5, he's now past Kellogg's of course. And obviously with Kaiser Soze pitting, he's released, so chasing after B17. But this fight at the front, they're just pulling away. They got a second and a half to Night Shadow, he's got over a second to B17.
Yes, it's really interesting here. Another point you mentioned during qualifying is I think we'll see quite a difference in setups, how skinny people have gone. There's only really one proper overtaking opportunity here, and it is down this long last straight. And if you've gone a bit high on downforce, this is where you're really going to suffer. So, yeah, I'll be curious to see how the field spreads out, and if those who have gone really skinny, if they're able to catch up with those down the long straight. Simba, as we see, he's pulled out that 1 second gap. He's out of DRS range from Connor right now, so yeah, maybe he's hoping he can just keep building that gap as the first stint on the hards moves on.
It has to be noted actually, I know Connor and Simba were pulling away, but suddenly Night Shadow is much closer to these two than he was before. Simba does set the fast lap of the race, but now B17 and Hornet have set faster laps and Night Shadow matched him. Oh, Hornet with a very late move on the inside. B17 sees him coming, leaving some nice room, avoiding a collision. Very well driven from B17. And of course, Baby Hornet with plenty of ERS, look at back at that Red Bull, he's flashing away. He knows full well B17 will be ready and waiting for a mini to come. He's quite vulnerable right now with B17, but he's driving a fantastic race right now. Very early days, respectable job. Calvin, meanwhile, fighting side by side with Kellogg through that first sector. They've also got Hodgie fighting close quarters with them as they come out of that Marina section. Hodgie, will he get DRS here? Flap is engaged. Same goes for Kellogg's though. Can Kellogg's get on Calvin? He can. Look at the gaining speed on Calvin. Gosh. Goes round the outside. Wow. Huge move. But unfortunately braked far too late. Oh, Calvin's gone round. Oh, Calvin's spun all by himself and Hodgie takes both positions. So Hodgie, the benefits are there of both the mistake from Calvin and the mistake from Kellogg's going a bit deep. Red Car Rambo, Ryan, the man from Red Car, not Red Car Cleveland, which we're not too far from, I guess. The man from Red Car in the northeast of England is now ready to pounce on Mr. Frosty's. Frosty's goes very defensive very early. Despite the fact they've both got DRS, Ryan's got much better straight line speed. And Kellogg's again very late on the brakes. Ryan looking to try and be manoeuvring himself in the exit rather than on the way into the corner. Very clever. Didn't quite get the job done, but on the exit he's now got the traction. And as we cross the start-finish line, they've both got DRS and Ryan is through into P7. Great job, good driving, very sensible. And now Bergen, another tier 1 protagonist, just like Hodgie, all over the back of Kellogg's. Can Lewis Kello hang on to position, or is Bergen going to make him suffer? We'll flick through the field quickly. Let's have a quick little gun through. The RS10 having a respectable race in the Haas. P10 currently. Oh, just missed out. Bergen did actually get a move on Kellogg's there. Did Kellogg let him through to get the DRS on him, or did Bergen just send the brave one? We'll come back to that. Confetti Craig fighting hard with BRD Calvin. Calvin did, of course, have that mistake last lap. Will he get moved on Confetti Craig? Craig of Germany looking very quick as ever. But Calvin, Tier 2 championship contender, reserving today in the Alpine, of course, has ridiculous pace in him. Great move up the inside of that first DRS straight. Both keep it nice and clean, and Calvin is through. Okay, I didn't really think DRS would be this powerful, because like you, I thought everyone would be quite low drag. But clearly, the DRS is more powerful than we potentially had imagined, so that's significant. And
yeah, I think if you can master the low downforce setup around here, it's definitely your friend, isn't it? That's where we've seen people make huge gains, and yeah, those Tier 1, Tier 2 drivers at the back, they're the ones who are really starting to pick through the field now.
We have embarrassingly missed some significant business. Bailey Hornet has jumped past B17, and possibly most importantly for the championship, Night Shadows up to P2 ahead of Connor H. So, Connor Hardy down to P3 in the Ferrari. He's all over the back of Night Shadow still, but this is allowing Simmer to pull away and consolidate what could be his championship lead that bit more than he already was. We have that yellow flag at turn 2. One of the Haas drivers has gone round, it's RS10. But we're going to stick with this fight here because we've got Night Shadow P2, Connor P3, Baby Hornet P4 and B17 P5 all in the DRS range.
Yeah, Baby Hornet, the only medium runner here. He'll be want to making hay while the sun shines. He knows his tyres are better, and now's the time to try and take at least P2 or maybe start hunting down Simba. So I'll be really interested to see how he copes on the alternate strategy.
Indeed, Connor, a bit brave on the brakes there. Good Night Shadow, okay, Gavin is a bit more sensible, playing the percentages there. Connor not quite confident with this line into that chicane there, it's costing him time. And it has to be said, these guys are suddenly catching Simba. I think Simba might have had a moment on this lap because he's lost a lot of time. But speaking of moments, Kellogg's has had a big moment. He's out of this race, and I smell a safety car.
I do. That yellow dot is out again.
I spy with my blowhole eye something beginning with a safety car.
If you're a medium runner, can you go 20 laps on the hards?
Yes.
Is it possible?
Yes,
okay.
Especially the safety car. I think you can. They'll be absolutely shocking at the end, to put it mildly, but to be honest with you, it's a free pit stop. I would take it and gamble. So we briefly touched on some iconic American tracks earlier. We missed another one out, briefly mentioning Daytona. Of course, Daytona is an iconic track. That and Sebring both host a lot of the iconic endurance races for both the IMSA, IndyCar and NASCAR. So, a quick look at YouTube chat. Oh no. Martin Hills, I mean, oh yes, Martin Hills with us. Sorry Martin, we love you really. Welcome, Alvidasen from Andorra, or wherever you are today. Oh, he's in Andorra, lovely. Yes indeed, you're right Martin, it's good to see us all racing. Hello Matthew Geke, Matthew Sullivan, lovely to see you my friend. Jensen AK Vortex, my friend, hello, lovely to see you speaking in the YouTube chat. I've missed you since I played COD with you last night. But that's enough of that, we don't mention other games here. We're loyal to Formula 1 sometimes. So, Formula 1 drivers from America. This is always quite a typical tropical question, which is very difficult to get in. But we're going to try. Right. Rob, how many Americans can you name that have competed in an official Formula 1 race?
Andretti?
And without cheating, which Andretti? Which one? You've got to get it right. One's American and one's Italian.
Is it Marco Andretti? Was it Marco Andretti? Was
nope,
he
Marco
the Italian?
Marco is Italian. It is Mario.
It's close.
You were close. I'll give you that one.
Scott Speed?
Scott Speed is the most recent of them.
Yeah, and then I'm really going to struggle with the other ones. Oh, it's Phil Hill.
Phil Hill, yes, the only ever American Formula 1 world champion.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Okay. I think I'm at my limit there, but I'm proud I've got those three.
Martin Hill says Michael Andretti. I think you might be right, actually. Colton Herta could be next year, depending on what happens with the super license business with Red Bull, AlphaTauri, Alpine and Pierre Gasly. Or to quote Daniel Ricciardo, Pierre Gasly! Enough of vast and impressions, we'll save that for later. Colton Herta's quite a good racer, and he's done a fantastic job in IndyCar, and some say he deserves a chance in F1. I'm in two minds about IndyCar drivers in Formula 1, but I respect that they are quite talented and quite good. So, we'll leave that there. Let's not cause too much controversy, but of course, IndyCar is massively inferior. Martin basically saying he's not joining. Yeah, that's because IndyCar's inferior. It's a shame.
Hey, you gotta. So I've got into my IndyCar a little bit. I saw the final at Laguna Seca.
I also watched that live. It was thrilling. It was really good.
Yeah, it is really good. And you've got former F1 or former F2. Like you got sorry, it's not Ericsson, is it? It's
Lundgaard, Rosenquist, Grosjean.
Ilott as well.
Callum Ilott, great driver, Ilott.
F2 drivers. And then they're not the ones cleaning up, are they? You've got other great drivers. You've got Pato O'Ward as well, who's Mexican, I believe. And
yes, he is Mexican.
He's part of the McLaren program, who they're looking at bringing in, and he's very, very quick. So at the moment, my personal opinion is that they need to sort out the amount of licence points you get for driving in IndyCar compared to something like F2, when you can see that there's clearly a lot of talent in there. They're very different series, I understand that, but I think it's a shame to waste that talent and us to be stuck with people such as I don't know, Nicholas Latifi, let's say.
Yes, I agree. I think maybe IndyCar needs to be given a little bit more credit. Speaking of drivers deserving credit, Martin's made a fantastic point. Jamie Chadwick, one of many of the W Series drivers testing Formula 3 and IndyCar light vehicles over this month and this week in particular. Jamie Chadwick, of course, has won all but one of this season's races in the W Series, and of course, he's won the last two series and almost certainly going to win this series of the W Series. Surely she's good enough for at least an F1 test, if not a Formula 2 seat. Surely,
you've got to try it when you've got somebody who is so clearly above everybody else in that league, right? Yeah, you've got to give them a chance in the upper echelons. You've got is it Calderon? Who is the other female?
Tatiana Calderon. She's raced in F2 for about 2 seasons, and she raced last week, 2 weeks ago, I believe. She's a respectable driver. She from Colombia, I believe. So again, not far away from this part of the world in Miami. She's Colombian.
You've got respectable drivers like that, but I think the problem we found with female drivers in F2 and F3 in particular is the same problem you get in F1, where Calderon is more of like a pay driver almost.
She is, yes.
So you're not getting the best, whereas Chadwick has proven that she's very good in that series. Clearly not a pay driver, has the ability. We want to see the best people in the best machinery, and in my opinion, although F1 is quite it's physically demanding on your neck and your arms, there's a lot of power that goes through your machine. There's absolutely no reason why women can't be performing at the very highest level in this sport, and I want to see more given the chance. There's an awful lot of drivers who deserve the chance, and I do think at least particularly somebody with Chadwick's track record, she's the one I would pick.
Couldn't agree any more with you, to be honest with you. I mean, Lombardi was the last person to race under in any F1 respect in the actual competitive event in Formula 1, of course. That was back in 1988. But of course we've had Susie Wolff come close, and I really should remember this, but the lady who drove for Marussia before,
with the eye patch, didn't she?
Unfortunately going through that horrible injury, I believe she passed away. Unless I'm mistaken, that was of course a very unfortunate event. Those are the two that have come closest. Of course, Susie Wolff dropped out from competitive racing a few years ago because she didn't believe she was ever going to get given a look in, which is a huge shame. Hopefully Jamie Chadwick can change that. That'd be great. Martin wading in with the fantastic insight here. F2 and F3 drivers require a huge income.
Yes.
Yeah, it's true. A rumour has it that to race in F2, I believe I read somewhere, I'm not sure how true it is, you used to earn between £5 and £10 million if you want to be in a team like Prima, Carling, or AR2. Of course, they're the front-running teams in Formula 2. If you want to drive any of them, you've got to bring anything between £5 and £10 million of dollars a year, essentially. Dollars, I think they got in. Which, with all due respect, that's a huge amount of money.
It is. If you haven't got the sponsorship from the driver academies, it's a very tough gig. Are we racing again this time?
We're back away sim with another safety car restart, and he's got a little bit later this time, and Night Shadow right with him. They are working together nicely, of course, in the Alpha Tauri team. So, Connor is just with them, and then Baby Hornet just further back. They've got a big gap to B17, with Mark H right behind them, and then a huge gap to Bergen and Confetti Craig behind them. Bergen and Confetti Craig side by side through turns 2 and 3. Bergen was telling me the other day he really despises these few corners the most. The rest of the track he really enjoys. Of course, that was the Williams team official debrief invoice practicing malarkey going on through the tail end of last week. A bit of credit to both Bergen and Red Car Rambo for helping with some setup. we all help each other, but they helped me with some confidence, so I owe them a big thank you. So there it is, boys. Big love, as always. Rob Smith, looking very competitive. So we've got, hold on, deja vu here. So we've got Confetti Craig in the McLaren being chased by Bergen in the Aston Martin. Then you've got Rob Smith in the McLaren being chased by Kaiser Soze in the Aston Martin. Am I seeing double? Yes, I'm definitely seeing double. Orange, green, orange, green. Calvin just chasing up the rear on both of those in the Alpine. Of course, we spoke on it earlier. Championship contender in Tier 2, having a fantastic season. He's missed a couple of races, and yet he still looks very dicey at the front end of that championship. And just testing himself tonight. Obviously, Monday's disappointment, he couldn't race. He was due to race both Tiers 2 and 1, so he's just keen to get himself a bit of track action. Love to see it. A bit further down the order, Red Car Rambo, another reserve. He's from Tier 2, very competitive driver. He's in a Haas sandwich. Currently got Jensky right up behind him, and they're chasing RS10. Jensky up the inside of Ryan, but Ryan, very cunning old fox, he knows what he's doing. Gets very wide in the exit, gives plenty of room, holds position, gets great drive. Will he now make a move on RS10 into turn 1? He's got a cracking run on him out that final corner. Lines him up, goes for the outside line, gives RS10 plenty of space, and leaves room for Jensky as well. Probably a bit too much room, but, you know, better safe than sorry. And now Jensky looking at a move. This is not the place I'd want to go for a move. This is the only place on the track you do not want to go side by side. But Jensky on the inside! Oh, this collision! I have to say, that was a bit bold. I'm sure we'll hear about that later, but Jensky is the one that's lost out. He was the one that made the move. I think we'll call that a racing incident, but we'll discuss that later, I'm sure, at the stewarding rooms. Jordan Berners also had a little roundabout moment, but we head back to the front as Simba and Night Shadow side by side at the end of the DRS straight. This is not what Franz Tost would want to see from his drivers, as we have now got these two side by side. Oh, safety cars come out. That's just saved the bacon for them, because Connor, SGPR, as he used to be though, now Baby Hornet, were all over them. Save the AlphaTauri blushes, and if I was anyone right now, I'd definitely be pissing.
Yeah.
Regardless of what tyre you're on, I'll be pissing 100% now.
Yeah, and BDR was the only one. He's brave enough to try and take the hard to the end. I'm not quite sure if that strategy will work. Now we've got another safety car. If he can hold it out,
he'll get track position, because everyone's going to surely pit, so he'll get track position at least. I think he could be in a good position right now.
Carrying on at the front.
Yeah, I
Connor's
have to say Oh no, we've got a few in. So we've got Connors in, Bay Hornet, B17 all pitting. We've got Mark H, Confetti Craig, and Kaiser Soze all in too. Sam Bowers also jumping into the pits. Jordan Burns got no front wing. I'd imagine he's probably going to pit. Got a hunch. Don't know about you, but yeah,
I would. Yeah, I'd give it a go.
Right, so let's go back to, let's remove the graphics and just look at the scenery. We love that. Toby Barnstorp, the Swedish House Mafia, is in the house. Hello, Swedish House Mafia. So, he's actually from Sweden, that's why I'm calling him Swedish House Mafia. But, speaking of Swedish House Mafia, the house band from somewhere, might be Sweden, might not be, they have a song with Tiny Temple called Miami to Ibiza, which is not the first song to be referenced in praise of the city of Miami. Will Smith, you might have heard of him. He's quite a famous fellow, and he made many a dollar in acting and singing and prattling around and shouting at Chris Rock in some award ceremony earlier this year. We won't talk about that. He had a song also called Miami. I believe it was inspired by the city of Miami. I don't know, might have been. And then there's a bit of a joke band a few years ago called LMFAO, who also, I'm in Miami, insert word here. Fun fact for you. So, yeah. There you go, Toby. If I just get you a shout out and link it into something almost related to the race. There you go. That was PG. Let's go back to the track. So this is a 5 kilometre track. Well, 5.1 kilometres, so just over 3.2 miles. I mentioned earlier, it's mainly car park. It's a surface that's not permanent. I know it's fairly used. And we did see quite a lot of erosion degradation of the actual surface. Not just the tarmac top layer, but the actual surface has to be repaired throughout the race weekend in F1. And it's highly maintained throughout the weekend. It's very difficult to believe that they couldn't be as organised as they probably should have been. Bear in mind how much money's been absolutely pumped into this track and this venue.
Yeah,
especially with the other tracks available and America for them to race at, and they do all that here. I still find it bizarre.
It is bizarre, but it's not. Unfortunately, I was just looking through like the list of times that that we've tried American GPs in different locations. We're going to Las Vegas next year, and that's not the first time that we've been to Las Vegas. There was the Caesar Palace Grand Prix back in 81, 82, and that
84 was the last time we raced there, the car park.
Yeah.
Another American car park.
Yeah, it was another car park, and that was one where it had terrible track degradation. I think they raced there one of the hottest
Grand Prix race ever in Formula 1 history. It was. I think the Dallas Grand Prix was the same sort of scenario back when they raced in Dallas that one time.
Yeah, and if you think that we race in like Saudi Arabia and Abu Dhabi and your hottest, maybe a night race for Las Vegas might be a better idea if they decide to hold it there. But yeah, I was just thinking back. We were talking about how like this Grand Prix circuit is one of the worst. That Las Vegas one was a very odd shape and apparently gave the drivers neck ache. It was the highest G's they'd ever suffered through corners. And infamously, I don't know if you remember when we raced at Indianapolis with only 6 cars
2005.
on the track. Yeah.
Yes.
It was
the Michelin boycotts. They all came in at the end of the formation lap, and it led to Michael Schumacher, Rubens Barrichello, Lorraine Carter-Kane, Tiago Monteiro, Patrick Friesacke and Christian Albers, if I'm correct. Were they the 6 drivers? Jordan's, Minardis and Ferraris. They were the 6 famous drivers that continued on.
That sounds about right. I remember that the Ferrari wasn't quick that year, was it? That was one of the very few Ferrari wins, maybe the only one.
It was the only one. Now, actually, the Ferrari wasn't a bad car that year, controversially. It was actually a good car. They started the year with the 2004 dominant car. The F2005, well, the F2004 was the car they started with. The 2005 car debuted, I believe, at China. China? It was, I think, the 3rd or 4th race in. It might have been China, might not have been. Because China used to at the end of the season. But anyway, I digress. It was the Bridgestone tyre was the problem, and unfortunately, Bridgestone, despite them being such a huge brand, Michelin had a better tyre, and it was a well-known thing. They were the only 3 teams to run Bridgestones rather than Michelin, and Michelin had a problem with the tyres, which couldn't undergo the strain of that high banking, like we have at Zandvoort. But anyway, we've got another safety car restart, so let's go, Simba again. We're getting deja vu here. So Simba goes. Connor is with him. Bergen is up to P3, Cameron up to P4, so the tier 1 and 2 speedy boys are ready to pounce on the 2 AlphaTauri heroes. Connor's got speeding at the 5-second penalty ring, what is the yellow flag? Oh yeah, that sounds glitchy to me.
Yeah.
There's a big gap between Rob Smith in 5th and Baby Hornet in 6th, I'm not sure why. Purple sector, P7, go on Craigie, do yourself proud, sunshine. Connor P8, obviously having pitted, he listened to me. When I said pit, he listens. Baby Hornet on the 2 lap old Haas in P6. One to watch out for. Confetti Craig in P9. He's another one to watch out for.
Yeah, just zoom past RS10. I don't know how a very bad exit out that corner, but he's lost 2 places there.
Yes, Hodges just got through as well. Speaking of Zoom, Zoom's got a title sponsor this track. You see it everywhere. Ooh, red car Rambo, very dicey there. Kaiser Soze looking at the inside. Ryan holds on to position. Lovely driving from Ryan. A little bit late in the brakes from Kaiser Soze, but we move on swiftly. I really detest this section here. Detest is a word I don't use very often, but I don't like it.
There's no flow to it, is there? There's no flow. You feel like you're going to bash into the car in front. Yeah, you just want to get on this straight as quickly as possible and forget you ever went through that section.
Yes. Jensen, aka Vortex, who's in the YouTube chat, says Watkins Glen would be a great race to have in F1. I completely agree with you. Back in the day, F1 did briefly race there. Uz Kazasose has another look at Ryan. I think Watkins Glen would be a fantastic race to have as an alternative here. Obviously, other sports and series in motorsport do race there to great success, like IndyCar, a lot of the GT3 and LMP3 cars, for example, race there. So an IMSA race there, if I remember rightly. So, yeah, we could see a different variety of American tracks, but we've already got a lot of them now, obviously with COTA, Miami, obviously Montreal. I know the Canada track in Mexico City is Mexico, but we've got quite a lot in that part of the world now. And of course, we can't forget Vegas is now coming, which I wish it wasn't.
Yeah, me too, but only do Vegas if you allow Danny Rick to race next year.
Yes.
He'll be the one who enjoys the most. Oh,
we've missed something. We've missed Night Shadow and Calvin and Bergen all get past Simba. Oh dear, I'm sorry everyone at the front, we've missed it because we tried to look at other people. I'm sorry, I'm sorry everyone.
There's a huge battle going on between 10, 11, 12 and 13.
Let's go.
Four
Oh no,
cars
we got
side by
Haas in the
side.
pool. Oh my gosh, this is the oh my word! Guys, Sambo was just collided with somebody. I'm not sure who it was, but someone's gone round. Oh my. Oh, back to the front. We've got Bergen, Calvin, Night Shadow. Oh my. Well, I tell you what, I'm going to have a moment here. Simba's really dropped off. Has he got damage? Let's jump before Simba. He's got Rob Smith pouncing on him there. Just gone very deep.
The tyres are gone. I think the tyres are really
right,
struggling now. 17-year-old.
By that theory, so should Bergen's, so should Night Shadows, but they seem okay. Rob Smith looks very racy right now as well, although he did have a big moment to that hairpin. I think if there's another safety car, if you haven't already pitted, you've got to pit. Although Jenski's on the soft, by the way, I've just noticed, as is Jordan Byrne. That's a bit early for a soft. You have to pit again. Let's stick with Calvin on the back of Gav. Calvin on these massively newer hard tyres, he pissed on that first safety car. Bold, but ultimately a good decision it looks now. He's de facto leader. Gav, of course, is ahead on track, but does have to pit. Bergen, Simba and Nice Shadow around Calvin all do have to pit, and Calvin doesn't have to pit again, so he's clearly the lead driver right now. Night Shadow deep into the hairpin there, which keeps him nicely ahead of Calvin. And this is the worst section you could possibly follow, because stay with Calvin, he has to follow the AlphaTauri. Look how horrible it is having to follow another car here, because even if you do get a little wince at a move, where do you go? If someone makes a mistake, you're colliding. Oh! And Gav has a huge moment, and Calvin, I have been proven wrong, he managed to avoid him. Not sure how. Anyway, Gav is the one that's got DRS, not Calvin. Somehow. How has that happened?
That was a Leclerc Verstappen type.
It was.
Yeah, get the DRS zone.
I'll tell you what, I don't understand how Gav's come out of that ahead, but Calvin's been absolutely livid. He's done everything right, to then end up losing the position very, what he would feel unfairly, and can't disagree with that, to be honest. Anyway, Bergen, wily fox that he is, the cockle picker, ready to pounce. Oh, Calvin's all over Night Shadow. Oh, he's surely going to have him into the high-speed chicane here. They're side by side. Who's got the cojones? On this occasion, it's the Scottish meatball rather than the Mancunian meatballs that are bigger on this instance. But Calvin will have DRS on the Banshee coming onto this first DRS zone, flowing through what you described earlier as pointless corners. They are pointless corners. Although, Night Shadow, straight line speed, look at him. Despite Calvin's DRS, Gav's pulling away. This is a joke. What is going on? Calvin, have you got 50-50 wings here? Has Gavin got secret engine mods? I think there's some cheating going on here, Gavin. You're far too quick on the straight. That said, Calvin in the corners is a lot quicker. I think Calvin's just running a very draggy car.
Yep.
Now so then, DRS restriction here. Gav's got ERS to burn, whereas Calvin doesn't, so that is helping him. But look at him fly away.
So much more out of that. Yeah, he's just going at
absolutely going.
What I will say is it's very smart play from Calvin. We saw Calvin and Night Shadow go side by side. Calvin's always got at the back of his head. He doesn't need to pass Night Shadow on track. He's got that pit stop that he knows Night Shadow has to take. Just about survival sometimes. So yeah, I think it's a fairly smart move just to keep it sensible. Although we've got 3 yellows, is that a virtual?
It is, and a very smart move as Simba has jumped into the pit lane just before that virtual came out, so he'll get the full benefit of that cheap pit stop, which frankly is probably got the best time possible for him.
Yeah.
So he'll be absolutely laughing right now. Calvin right now will be absolutely crying inside that he's still behind Gav, who's, as we've just seen on the straight, absolutely torpedo fast. I'm going to call Gav Daniel Fiat, because he is a torpedo. If you don't know that reference, you need to watch more Formula 1. We've got a few people gabbling on a soft tyre, so we saw Jenski pop them on earlier with Jordan Byrne. Rob Smith, Red Car Rambo, Power Perception Nice, 10 will pop them on now. Simba's gone for a medium, he's playing it safe. I think that's the better move personally, but worth a gamble.
Yeah.
So,
I'd say the softs can do about 6 laps around here, would you say?
We've got just over 7 laps to go, so it's a bit of a stretch, but worth a try. If you get another safety car, it'll be fine. Mark's got a corner cutting penalty. Shame, but he's here. He'll get demotions in places anyway, so it's not the end of the world. Gav's pulled out under that VSC, by the way. Calvin's over a second back, so that's not quite worked for Calvin. Gav will have to pit at some point. But he continues. He's waiting for a late safety car, isn't he?
He's waiting for a late safety car, and if there's one thing Gav can do, it's manage tyres. His first podium in MRC, I remember, was taking one set of wets for the entire race, I think, around Spain, because he could, and holding everyone up behind him. So, yeah, if anybody can do it, it's Gav. But Calvin does have a bit of a run on him. He's closed that gap down from 1 second down to 4/10 now. Let's see if he can get him through that set of corners in the next DRS zone, or he might get it done a bit earlier. No, he's not going to have a look down inside there.
But he's got a fantastic exit. Wow.
Yeah.
But Gav's straight on speed. You can see already he's just pulling away. You just see him roaring away. That's ridiculous. Gav's got a little bit of ERS. Calvin has absolutely diddly squat. And despite switching with DRS, just falling. If you have a late safety car, you'd imagine everyone will throw it in the pits, just the pace difference would be ridiculous. But Gav right now looks really, I dare to say it, in a good position to win, but he does need a safety car. Bergen also hasn't pitted, it has to be said. The fantastic tier 1 teammate of mine, who is also a strategic genius, I do appreciate that man a lot, is having a fine race in P3. Confetti Craig has retired from the session. Could that be the safety car? It is the safety car that's coming out. Gavin Jenkins, get your rear end into that pit lane now. Calvin follows him in, as does Bergen. Right.
Does Hornet stay out? Does Connor stay out? Because Hornet can make it to the end. Connor maybe can't.
Hornet pits. Connor continues. Hornet pits. Connor wants track position. Connor wants to go for the win. He's got to go for it, because... Now, here's the interesting thing. Simba is behind other cars. Simba is his rival for the championship. Simba's on similar tyre, slightly newer tyre, but same tyre, behind other cars. Connor, don't overtake the safety car. Ooh, that was a close one. Connor needs to finish on track ahead of Simba, of course. If Simba doesn't get past the guys behind Connor, in fact, Bergen and co are ahead of Simba on track. Now, while Simba will jump ahead of them because of the penalties, they will hold up Simba, which actually Connor's played a blinder here, because Connor's got Kaiser Soze, Night Shadow, Calvin, Bergen, Sambal and Baby Hornet between him and Simba. Now, Calvin, Bergen will lose positions, so that automatically promotes Simba up to potentially P6, but that's still another 5 cars between them, minimum.
Yeah, and you've got, with everybody dipping into the pits, it means you're probably guaranteed, at least 2 laps of the safety car here, so we'll probably get 5 laps of racing at the end. Yes. Yeah, so it's not a bad play from Connor there, actually. He thinks that, over 5 laps he's not going to catch me. Yeah.
I think he's played the perfect strategic ball there. I think Simba pitting when he did, that was his race strategy. He had to do it. No qualms about that. Kaiser Soze, he's lucked in slightly, but again, he's driven very well. Night Shadow has got very lucky. He's played hard on the safety car, but you know what? If you don't buy a ticket, you don't win the raffle. He's put himself in position to capitalise, and you know what? Fair play. He's really checked in there, so good on him. Calvin P4, Bergen P5, those two, you expect them to be near the front, whatever tier they're racing in. They're very competitive, fast guys. Sambal, I think this is his best race I've seen from him since his MRC return. Cracking to see him up the top end of the grid. Baby Hornets had a mixed bag today. Started off with a qualifying that was brilliant, but with a penalty, and it's just gone up and down throughout the race for him. It's not quite worked. Simba will be keen to perhaps make some positions up. Rob Smith and Mark Podgy make it top 10. Ryan down to P15. What's happened to Ryan today?
I think he's just had bad. He's never quite had the run. I think given clean air, he would be absolutely smashing this track. I saw him on practice on Sunday, and he was in P2 behind Jay Sarge, so he knows the pace is in that car. I just think he's had incidents happen around him.
Yeah.
We're on the 4th safety car of the race. It disrupts. If it only takes one bad... 5th, yeah. It only takes one bad safety car decision, and all of a sudden you find yourself in an odd place. Luck does play a big part in this sport, unfortunately, and around Miami, it's been one of those races. Those barriers are close, and very easy to lose the rear end. It's happened to well, 4 cars so far unable to finish the race, unfortunately.
Yeah, so I completely agree. Ryan, his pace on Sunday, I was a little bit frightened actually when I saw it. I thought, blimey, if that's the pace of a very good Tier 2 driver, which I think is a very fair comment about Ryan, he's a very good Tier 2 driver. If that's the pace of the top end of Tier 2, keeping up with J Sarge, which rightfully he was, that really shows just how competitive the whole of MRC could be for this whole week. So yeah, this could be a crazy restart. So obviously the whole field, with the exception of 4 drivers, are on brand new soft tyres. The exceptions are Simba on brand new mediums, 2 drivers on old hards in Sambal and Soze, and then of course Connor, our race leader, on an old set of mediums. The safety car is coming in this lap, so the whole grid is together on the track straight. Connor needs to back the hell up, really. He needs to get them absolutely tight and tangled to give himself the best chance of running away. Right now, Simba, down P8, his championship rival's P1, his only saving grace is Night Shadow in P3. The cracking straight line speed could cause some problems. Connor's pulled away fantastically, just done the job. Soze had a nightmare getaway. Gav's going to throw one on the outside as we come down to turn 1. And Gav's through. Easy peasy move for Gav. Soze's got the other Aston Martin of Bergen now side by side with him in this first section. Again, Soze on those hard tyres does not have the paces. Clear as day that those newer tyres are really, really worth having on the car. So Connor's got just under 2 seconds lead for this group. The nightmare for him now is that Night Shadow is a teammate of Simba, and of course is going to cause him some trouble. The only thing that can save him is Bergen. Bergen is Connor's saving grace right now. If Bergen can pass and hold up Night Shadow and just tangle with him a little bit, Connor could just extend a little bit and give himself some time. I've been looking at Night Shadow at the end of the first direct straight. Night Shadow goes a bit deep on the brakes there, just holding on position, but they are crucially now back in that 1 second window, despite nearly 2 seconds being the gap at one point. They're back with Connor already. I don't think Connor's going to hang on to this personally. I love Connor to pieces, but I have to say, Gav, right now, I know Calvin and Bergen are behind them, but those two will have good place penalties regardless of what happens here. Night Shadow looks really good for the win right now.
He's got a Monza wing on, hasn't he? He's just got absolutely
look at him go.
low down force.
Look at him already going for ons. Connor into the hairpin. They've both gone deep. They're in the wall.
Oh,
no! Have I just cursed them both? Have I just done? Oh no! I'm sorry, Connor. I'm sorry, Gav. You can blame me all you like. Bergen takes the lead and pops a fast lap the race in. Calvin jumps up to second. Connor and Gav both hit. Oh boys.
What were we saying? Yeah. We were saying Simba might be the one who's lost out. That he'll be the one who'll be, thinking his championship titles have gone up the road.
I've got news for you. Simba's P13.
Ooh.
Despite those two dropping out, he would have been P15. Simba must have had a moment himself. So
I think those mediums just aren't firing up as fast as those softs. There's such a difference with these softs the last 5 laps that he's just completely there.
What I really want to watch now is the dice between Bergs and Calvin at the front. These two, phenomenally quick drivers. Both tier 1 pace in terms of lap time and race pace. Both very quick and competitive drivers fighting at the front. But, have you seen who's in P3?
Maybe Hornet.
Our prediction for the race win is in P3. And he's having a look at the 2 protagonists at front. Calvin very twitchy through that chicane. Yeah. Bergen a little bit more planted there. Kaiser Soze, let's give him a bit of respect, put some respect on his name. P4, that very old hard tyre. He's got El Hodgio just behind him. Hodge with a very quick car. Again, he'll have penalties after the race, so he'll drop down the order. But it's good to see that Calvin, Bergen and, of course, Hodge having a very threatening race. And Ryan, after all we said earlier, back up to P7. Good to see. Jordan Byrne, P8. Could he get his first tier 3 points? I believe it would be his first points. Maybe hold it fast off the race. Good to see RS10 having a Fantastic race for him, P10. Keep it going, lad. Purple sector P11. Can he break into the points? Wow.
It's really fascinating up the top. Obviously, but I think Calvin was in P3, wasn't he? So Bergen was obviously the one who took the most advantage out of that coming together between Night Shadow and Connor up front. And like you say, it'll be interesting to see. Calvin was stuck behind Night Shadow for so long with his very skinny wing. Is Calvin going to be able to take Bergen on the straights, or is he going to have to do a braver move through one of the corners here? We'll see just how, not desperate, but when's the calculated move to get through on this Miami track when you've got higher downforce than the rest of the people around you.
Yes. So, I mean, this section here that Bergen's in, for example, you want plenty of wing, a nice high ride height, for example, because it just helps you set with the curves. But as we saw with Calvin when he was chasing Gav down that straight, if you have too much wing, you're absolutely dead in the water. And Bergen now is pulling away, clearly got a bit better straight on speed, and Calvin's just picked up that penalty for good measure, which isn't going to help. Hodgie is now ahead of B17, and Kaiser Soze is just dropping down the order now on those tyres. He's really struggling. So we've got the top four separated by 2 seconds, of course. We've got Hodgie, Calvin and Bergen are all going to take penalties. It's not stopping Bergen from pumping in some ridiculous lap times though. Baby Hornet is going to lead this race with B17 and Kaiser Soze. Oh no, Kaiser Soze is pitting. So, just jinxed him. So I was going to say B17 should take a podium spot. Jenski now might get a podium. Maybe RS10. We'll have to wait and see. We've got 2 laps to go. Who's the closest spot on track we can find? Let's try and find some action. Simba is up to P10 now. Back to the points. He'll gain a couple of positions following the penalties of the cars ahead. Night Shadow. That's a spankingly good time, but he's on brand new tyres, so not surprising. The pace he's got. He could still recover some points here after all the calamities. Of course, I mentioned we've got a few drivers in the points, 4 drivers who are going to take place penalties. Jordan Byrne P13, Soze 14, Connor P15, Rob Smith also back in the pits in P16, the last of our runners. Bergen's just got some pace right now, he's just flying away. Calvin's just about keeping him honest, but not quite able to put a threat on him. Baby Hornet's not far back. Simon will be happy with his performance today, and if he doesn't bottle it, should take the win. A bit early to call it, but early prediction for driver today so far. We've got a lap to go still, but
oh goodness me, there's a lot to choose for. I reckon Red Car Rambo's not a bad chat, considering where he started, considering the race he had, and the position he's likely to finish in. I know he's going to have to take those penalties being a Tier 2 driver, but as for where he finishes in the race today, I think that's been a good race for him, showing that that's a good example of why you never give up in this format. A late safety car can change everything. With chaos happening around you, suddenly you can find yourself in P6. So yeah, no, I think that's been a very good drive from Red Car Rambo today.
I couldn't agree anymore. We joke about being Mr. Hulkenberg, sorry, MRC's Mr. Nico Hulkenberg, and he very much is a reliable, consistent and dependable driver. So yeah, in fairness to him, he's a very reliable and good all-round driver. He does a good job, and just like yourself in Tier 1 and Tier 2 over the years, he's shown that if you're consistent, don't get penalties, stay out of the accidents and keep it going, never give up, points can still be earned. Let's head back to the front. Calvin caught up again to Bergen as these two just extended away from El Hornet. And into the final sector of the last lap now. Bergen is going to almost certainly take this on track at least, unless Calvin decides a little brave send into the final hairpin. Let's not put it past him, but he's a bit far back for my liking. We have got a yellow flag in the end of the first sector. It's an Alpha Tauri. Is that Gav? I think it's Gav who's gone round. Oh, that's a shame. Nevertheless, it's been a long race, but Bergen is going to take the win on track. It comes through the final corner. Bergen wins the Tier 3 Miami race. Calvin takes second on track. Baby Hornet takes third. That is the official winner, will be Baby Hornets with Hodgie P4. Red Car, sorry, B17 takes P4, which become P2. Hodgie P5, Ryan P6. Jenski is going to come over the line to take P7. That will become P3, pending obviously penalties, etc. Which of course all results are pending penalties, etc. from stewards. But from my reckoning, I believe Hornet wins, P17 and Jensky make up the podium. RS10 will be buzzing. This P4 for him. Haas, great day, P3 and 4 at their home race. Simba, he's had a mixed bag today, but he's finished ahead of his title rival. That is the all-important fact. Sambal P10, Connor P11, Purple Sector finished without front wing, but it's P12. Kaiser Soze P13, Jordan Byrne 14th, Rob Smith 15th, and Night Shadow P16, the last of the runners. I lost count of how many safety cars and VSCs we had. Wow. RS10 is the games drive of the day. You know what? He's had a fantastic race. But like you, I do think Ryan, after the comeback and the never say die attitude, really does serve some daps for that drive. So, Bergen, he's won a few races this time. Former Tier 3 champion. P2, Calvin was also the former champion of Tier 3 as well. The last two winners of Tier 3, in fact. So, good to see them stepping back into their old stomping ground and having some fun.
Always nice to prove that you still got it. But yeah, we saw some great drives today. A lot of on a very difficult circuit. So yeah, if you made it to the end, I think you can give yourself a pat on the back. That's an achievement in itself. And yeah, if you've raced it, just think, thank goodness I won't have to race this track for a very long time.
Oh, at least we hope. So just a quick flick through the results. Of course, we just briefly mentioned them there. Feel free to have a little gander. Let us know in the comments and in the drive of the day poll who your drive for the day is. Of course, it's fantastically important to have a look at and to get your votes in. Commiserations to Confetti Craig, Kellogg's, Batmaze and Fire Rooster, who did not reach the flag. No shame in that, boys and girls. Of course, we know it's a horribly difficult track and, well, not one that you want to race at if you're not 100% confident. We both were unlucky about that Monday we didn't get to race. Bergen Bomb, I just realised, last to first? Last to first?
Last to first challenge.
Tell you what, Kid Dynamite, are you listening? Are you watching, Dean? Because Bergen's just taking your mantle there. I'm still going to go with Ryan as my driver of the day after his calamities earlier. We have Tier 4 action coming up soon. It will probably be delayed slightly because obviously Tier 3 has gone a little bit longer than we hoped and planned. But of course Tier 3 will be coming up very shortly. 10, 15, 20 minutes or so, hopefully. Get yourself back involved in watching or racing if you're racing later. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. And thank you, as always, Rob, for your expert insight and a splendid time to spend with you, as always. I very much enjoy your company.
No problem. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you, everyone, for joining and being patient with us. We've had some issues this week. Hope to see you all soon. Take care. Thank you and good night.
See ya.